Barcelona vs Cadiz match ended with 4-0 victory of Barca. Just to give a quick reminder about the formation of both the teams, Barcelona were playing in 4-3-3 formation and Cadiz were playing in 4-2-3-1 formation. In the first phase, Barcelona were building the game in traditionally back four and Barcelona were using sole pivot and that was Sergio Busquets. In the first phase, Cadiz were pressing with front two. Cadiz front two were ready to press Barca centre backs man to man. So in the first phase, Barca centre backs were always under pressure from Cadiz front man. Cadiz number 10 was always covering Barca's pivot, so Barca's pivot was isolated between Cadiz frontman, and when he was receiving the ball, he was not able to move around, and then the Busquets had to do quick passing. So Barcelona were having trouble building the game in the first phase. Now Barca had probably only one route, long balls. Barca's goalkeeper was attempting long balls with a goal kick into the wide zone because Cadiz midfield was central high on the pitch. So when Barca's goalkeeper was attempting long balls, Barca's wide players were easily receiving the ball in the wide zone. You can see the position of Cadiz midfielder on this. Due to Cadiz midfielder being central in the first phase, space was being created in the wide zone for Barca. In open play, Cadiz were defending in 4-4-1-1 formation. Cadiz number 10 was always marking the pivot of Barca, so Barca's pivot was always isolated in open play and build a phase. Due to Barca's pivot being isolated, it was difficult to build a game from the center. In open play, Cadiz were pressing with sole man and he was 2 vs 1 down in front of the Barca centre backs. Barca centre backs were playing split wide in open play. Cadiz frontman had to cover a lot of distance as Barca centre backs played wide, and he was unable to close down Barca centre backs. In the end, Barca centre backs were carrying the ball from half space and were moving forward. So in the middle third, Barca centre backs were more active than pivot. Barca's offensive midfielders Pedri and Xavi were playing between the line. As we discussed, Cadiz midfield was compact. Barca centre back were unable to penetrate Cadiz midfield due to compact midfield of Cadiz. In the end, Barca's offensive midfielder were unable to receive the ball between the line, so Barca's offensive midfielder were forced to drop in to become centre back's passing option. When Pedri was dropping in, Cadiz centre midfielder was ready to take back Pedri. With Cadiz centre midfielder committing on Pedri, half space was opening up and Lewandowski was dropping in that space. As we discussed, Barca's offensive midfielder Pedri and Frenkie de Jong were unable to receive the ball between the line. While the ball was progressing forward, Barca's offensive midfielder got run between Cadiz centre back and fullback. Cadiz fullback began to defend more narrowly as the Barca's offensive midfielder took a run out of the half spaces. The narrow defending of Cadiz fullback opened a wide zone for Barca and made Barca's wingers seem even more effective. The winger of Barca were playing with much wider open in the second half than in the first half. Due to the wingers operating wide, the wingers were dragging Cadiz fullbacks wide. Because Cadiz fullbacks were dragged wide, Cadiz defense was getting stretched. Due to the Cadiz fullback being out of position, space was being created between the fullback and the centre back, and Barca's offensive midfielder were using that space. Now talking about Barca's right back. In the second half, Barca's right back was operating in the half space. Due to the right back operating in the half space, there was no defender on the right hand side. So Pedri's role was to drop in on the right hand side and play the game so that he could fill hole in the defense due to right back pushing high. Barca had an extra man to defend because of Pedri's drop in. Due to the fullback operating in the half space, the fullback was tagging the centre midfielder and Pedri was tagging the wide midfielder of Cadiz. So Cadiz were busy with two midfielders on the left hand side and Lewa was using that space by dropping in.